Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the Vampire Coast led by Nerexa facing off against Khorne, who shall be helmed by Bob That Builder here on the Battle for Itza. And it is going to be very off-meta stuff here for Coast, which I love, although maybe adjusting to the new meta, right? Khorne is very scary, trying to bring a foot-based caster, for example, which would have been maybe the original play, like a Noctilus or just a Vampire Fleet Admiral or something. Much riskier now because Khorne comes in, he shuts down their ability to cast spells and heal things with Invocation. So I think they've had to adjust by bringing a character like Aranessa, right? She's anti-large. She can take on Khorne probably in a little bit of a duel. She can also snare him, provides anti-large to nearby units, and can protect your caster from the big scary corn dog, which I think is a cool tech here by Nerexa. For the rest of the build, it's going to be zombies, Depth Guard, and the Mourngul Haunter, which I'm a big enjoyer of the Mourngul Haunters. I think they're great. They have healing via the hunger, pretty good fighters, cause terror, and a huge HP pool to boot. So that is it. It's very much like a Coast Aranessa melee-centered army. Now for old Khorne here on the other side, it is going to be double cultists. So the old school meta, Khorne cultists are amazing. Silver shielded against any significant focus fire. Their ability to summon demons is great, and they're just solid grinders in the front line. The rest of the build here, Chaos Warriors. So they're coming off a recent cost reduction. Chaos Warriors are great. High melee attack, and they can bump and grind for sure. We're going to see what they do against the zombie legions. Valky the Bloody up in the sky, awesome pick against Coast. She's able to hunt down any of the characters and or monsters effectively and is a bit of a small target for shooting and does have Demon Shield in case she gets caught in a bad situation. Sleipnir against Depth Guard, what's not to love? So very, very cool build. And up here we see the Khorne Horseman grabbing the objective. Khorne going to be grabbing the middle objective as well. We have a Vampire Caster of the Deep, so we have Crab Summon and Fog of the Damned. Okay, some wild builds we're seeing here today. So it looks like there's going to be a duel, the Cultist versus Aranessa. The Cultist doesn't want any of that, so he's going to be fleeing the scene. Aranessa able to chase that foul Cultist away, it looks like. And soon there's going to be a bit of a Royal Rumble here on the middle. Vampire Fleet Captain going to be dropping some crab summons, I would wager. And we do see Valky the Bloody diving in to go after the wacky inflatable arms man. So the Mourngul Haunter are going to get hunted a little bit as the Depth Guard polearms do move up. Granted, the Haunter can give it back to Valkia too. It does have anti-infantry, and she is infantry size, so that is something to take into account. Lamprey's Revenge fighting here with good old Aranessa's Salt Spite. Manon's Chosen fighting shoulder to shoulder with her crab people. And there is going to be another Crabbo Stabbo summon, although it looks like Aranessa taking a bit of a beating here from this Cultist of Khorne. He does have pretty similar stat line, really high melee attack, so he would be able to connect. Although on the other side, we do see Valkia also taking a bit of a losing fight here against the Mourngul Haunter. So both armies' legendary lords kind of losing to heroes, which is funny. Sleipnir going down from Valkia. It tickles the pickle. It wasn't quite the right angle. If it had been like up this way or like maybe up this way a little bit more, it would have gotten more value. But it does hurt the Mournguls and is certainly not terrible. And debuff going down, Fog of the Damned, going to be lowering Valkia's stats. And she's getting trapped up by these Night Terrors here. And also, Homie here has Frostbite as well as slowing, chilling aura. So Valkia's speed is only 38 right now. On the other side, Vampire Coast unleashing some evil tactics with the Depth Guard and the Rotting Promethean summons. They're able to grind down some of the Chaos Warrior infantry, which is no surprise. In response to that, Bob That Builder does grab a bunch of Marauder Horsemen of Khorne and is getting some excellent throwing axe salvo fire here on the Rotting Prometheans. Unfortunately for him, it is a summon unit, so it's not going to be doing a ton of work. It's interesting because in Warhammer 2, summons were so meta, right? Like, they were just the way to go. But you don't see them as much in Domination, although lately I've been seeing a bit of a comeback. Like, in the big Season 6 finals, we saw double Vermintide summon being used. We're seeing crab summons here, and this is a highly competitive game as well. And yeah, the meta is certainly still evolving, which is cool to see. But man, Valkia kind of getting her trailer treatment here. She does get whooped on by the Mourngul Hunter and the Night Terrors nearby. A lot of good counters here in this Vampire Coast army against the Chaos Warriors. But Chaos is looking still pretty resilient on other fronts. Chaos Warriors on this side are going to dominate these zombies, and then they're going to be able to push through and grab Objective 3. Yeah, whenever I see a Khorne Warrior, I always want to get a close-up. They're definitely so cool looking. But it also brings back nightmares of painting. I've painted so many Chaos armies. I painted 3,000 points of Death Guard, maybe 3,000 points of Chaos Space Marines, an entire Nurgle army for Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and the Old World, it's just trim upon trim. Chaos Dwarves also are a trim-centric army. It's just pure pain. But looking at the battlefield, let's see what Collins are coming in. Bob is saving up for something a little bit fancier. On the high ground, this objective was, of course, owned by Khorne, and Khorne going to be using their Marauder Horsemen, which are really good against Hounds. They have a bonus for his infantry, and Hounds are infantry size, so man, look how hard those scurvy dogs get wrecked by those Khorne Marauder Horsemen. Absolutely beautiful. But the low ground objectives are owned by Vampire Coast, but we will see for how long. Are they going to be able to hold on? They still have their Lamprey's Revenge cackling pretty hard. Granted, there are some throwing axes nearby that might be able to kind of change that narrative. Coast calling in some guns, which Khorne is very good at shutting down guns. You do see the Fury swarming in, but the Morghuls, or at least a Morghuls, is going to be coming in to lend a little bit of support, as are some Scurvy Doggos. So it looks like the Black Spot might barely survive the handgun ROR. Their leadership going to be stabilizing at like 2, and there is going to be a Fury unit going down. So if, they're similar in price. If the Fury unit goes down and the guns are still able to do something on the battlefield, that'll be quite nice. And it looks like Aranessa hunting down that cultist. So she's more of an anti-large duelist, but with her snare ability, she can lock things down and fight pretty well. Over on the far side, Khorne, it looks like they're stealing this objective. These Rotting Prometheans are summoned, so Khorne isn't going to have too many issues grabbing this one. Taking a look at the center of the battlefield, Vampire Coast calling in zombie pirate deckhand mobs, and Old Khorne is going to be relieving their elite troopers with some more haggard ones. Khorne maintaining their objective here. Middle objective is owned by Coast. Far side objective was owned by Vampire Coast. But it looks like Khorne is kind of taking the advantage as it pertains to the open field and all these different side objectives. Here, Aranessa Saltspite and company using the Fog of the Damned on the Chaos Warriors, able to break that fight open. There is some healing on Vampire Coast. Like all the Morghuls, as well as Lamprey's Revenge, do have passive healing, unless I'm a potato and I'm remembering wrong. No, they do. And Depth Guard also heal in combat. Looks like there's going to be a snare going down here on the Minotaurs of Khorne. So they do get nailed by Spearfisher's Net, so their melee attack is like going to be in the pits while that's active. Their melee defense and melee attack is going to get nailed down pretty hard. Horn of Khorne trying to counter that a little bit here, as we do see the taunt going down from the Vampire Coast Admiral, and the Minotaurs are doing okay, getting some respectable anti-large attack into the Morghuls as well as the Crabs, but I think they are going to be dragged down just by sheer numbers here. We do also get some Scurvy Dogs piling in, adding some nibbling attacks, and some Depth Guard polearms. So Vampire Coast does have a really, really nasty central blob here, but the question is, are they going to be able to contest multiple points, right? Because in Dom mode, you can't just like hunker down your whole army on one spot and win the game. Typically, you have to, I mean, you can sometimes, but if your opponent is willing to meet you on those terms and just fight over 1 point, but really, it typically comes down to more battlefield control and playing the other objectives as well. Couple Scurvy Dog units battling it out here versus the Chaos Warhounds of Khorne. Scurvy Dogs will be favored because of their unbreakable leadership. Morghuls also here as well. So that is a big, big play here for Vampire Coast, who is down about 1,000 value, but with healing, I think it's pretty much a dead-even game. Morghuls are so nice for objective stealing. So here's a strategy for you aspiring Vampire Coast players. If somebody has an unguarded objective, you call in a Morghuls, but not on the point like right next to it. You would do it right here, so they think it's going to the middle if they are watching, and then you sneak up here. It starts to capture the objective, and then you, as soon as it does, you call in a Scurvy Dog, and then you're going to have 8 capture weight there. And they'll be able to deal with most things your opponent can throw at them. It doesn't give them much time to react to your, I guess, tech switch is a good way to articulate that. Very, very strong stuff from the Vampire Coast of Nerexa here. And Valkia is still continuing to struggle. Fog of the Damned debuffing her stat line, not that it matters too much right now. Vampire Coast cackling on this point, and it looks like the Morghuls Haunter is feasting pretty hard. It's getting its big wacky arms, it's bonking things on the head. Both of the Khornate cultists are running. It is a really powerful anti-infantry fighter. 1,500 value on that thing. Yeah, that's a really nice tech piece against the cultists and also against Valkia. Like, that thing's been fighting Valkia, no problem. So high ground, we're going to get some Marauder Horsemen charging into the Morghuls. Morghuls should win that fight. Not like super crushing, but they will win it. And here we get the Doggos chasing down the Khorne Dogs. Not true Khorne Dogs like the Walmart Khorne Dogs. Those are the Chaos Warhounds of Khorne. So just, Warhounds with a little bit of a mark of Khorne on them. And will the Morghuls be able to hold here? They are going to get attacked by several Marauder Horsemen units. I think so, with the Scurvy Dogs coming back and rear charging in. As long as they get there soon before the Morghuls crumble down. We'll have to see. So down on the middle, we do see the Vampire Coast, Lamprey's Revenge, the Minotaurs of the Sea, the Butchers of Kalkengard of the Sea. Holding on there, still regenerating, 2,000 value. Hordes of Khornate troopers coming in, but the Vampire Coast has pretty good sustainability here. And even this very tattered Depth Guard unit, sure, they're going to lose this fight, but they will put some hurt down and provide some holding potential as more deckhand mobs do arrive. And we do see the Chaos Warriors here getting routed by the Chad Morghuls Hunter, who's going to be heading back this way. Call in for the Vampire Coast is going to be another Depth Guard unit. Really good call, mostly, and that's another skill set of domination, is kind of seeing the pattern of what your opponent's calling in and just kind of, planning what your counterattack is going to be, right? So it's mostly been Marauder spam here for the forces of Khorne, just desperately spamming out cheap units to play the contesting game. So calling it a Depth Guard, which could literally kill like 3 of them, is a very, very good choice. Fog of the Damned going down. Really cool to see this different style of play. Taunt stat line's going to be heavily nailed here. Valky the Bloody has popped Demon Shield to become invulnerable. These Morghuls finally going to be crumbling, but the Vampire Fleet Captain and the Zombie Nation here should be able to maintain the capture weight here with the Scurvy Dogs and some Dickhand mobs heading up that way to help. It's kind of looking like Coast is in an okay position, even though Khorne does have a bit of a value lead, although middle is in flux here, ladies and gentlemen. Mourngul Haunter battling it out versus the Marauders. Probably going to want to get the Mourngul Haunter to focus down these characters. The Cultists of Khorne still have a lot of stopping power in them. They hit hard. You don't want to be taking those hits on Aranessa, right? So getting the Mourngul Haunter to finish the job. Sword of Khorne! Gotta love it on the zombies, as well as the Depth Guard here, able to take down about 40% of their HP. That was a God tier 1 right there. Getting the Minotaurs of Khorne to actually jump on the Depth Guard that are unsupported might not be a bad idea either. But we do see Aranessa. She's battling it out with the Cultists. She does have some ward save items, but did she bring them? No, she just brought the net. We did not bring the Lucky Dice or Madon's Dice or whatever the hell that's called. And it looks like Khorne is going to get back in this game. We do see Vampire Coast up in value, but the middle objective here is going to be in flux. So it looks like Khorne is going to find their way to getting that. High ground here is going to be owned by a couple zombies. But the problem with this is when Coast gets spread out, is that the Marauders will crush zombies decisively. Their stat line is really decent, actually. 44 melee attack against 15 melee defense and even 20 on these guys. They're going to crush those bad boys. The middle objective does go to the Khorne Dogs. We do see Bob That Builder here on the comeback tour. Chaos Warhounds do arrive, going to be battling with Scurvy Dogs. Scurvy Dogs should get the dub here. Valkia going to be taking the fight versus the Vampire Fleet Captain, which is still a vampire with high combat stats. It could probably finish off Valkia in her current state. So if Valkia wants to take those fights, she probably should be cycle charging. So when the Depth Guard arrive, it does change the capture weight dynamic. Fog of the Damned going down once again. I'm loving this debuff play. It's so fun seeing. And if you this is not a meme game at all. This was one of the matches from our grand finals of the season 6 on Total Tavern. It's one of the ones that happened off stream. So a lot of the replays lately have been. So this is a serious build here, and I love to see it actually do. Because Khorne is great, and Bob, these are both top tier players, and it's working, which is really fun. So Vampire Fleet Captain of the Deep getting swarmed by Valkia. Valkia making meet my words as the cycle charging is doing quite a bit of work. No Invocaster for the Vampire Coast, only passive healing that the Hunger provides the vampiric units and the Mournguls and all that good stuff. Vampire Coast does grab this objective, but this is a game that Khorne can easily win on too, although it looks like Vampire Coast hasn't lost the high ground objective. We do have more polearms coming up. The Marauders tearing through waves after waves of zombies, but this is no mere Marauder. These are the mighty warriors of Khorne. Skulls for the Skull Throne. Going to be flanking in, getting a nice little charge on those halberds. Granted, the frontage should probably be increased a little bit. Mournguls, though, a pretty hard counter against all these infantry units. Vampire Coast does have objective number 2 and objective number 1. In Khorne, it suddenly looks like they're petering out a little bit. They're running out of steam. I mean, all they really have here are these 2 warrior units, a Forsaken in the middle, which the Depth Guard should be able to handle if they're still nearby. They are. And look, Valkia the Bloody is taunted. Mourngul Haunts are going for the kill. Valkia's Demon Shield is off, 700 HP. So the vampires are going to be getting the big old goon squad here, trying to take her down. And what kind of HP are we looking at? We're looking at 10 leadership right now. And, oh, that was like a movie scene. The wacky inflatable arm guy flying, trying to drag her down as she flies up. But that is going to be another Fog of the Damned. How long does that last for? It actually lasts pretty long. I think it's 18 seconds or something like that. It's a spell you don't normally see, but we'll try and check over the course of the game. So Aranessa and company and her Depth Guard annihilating the Forsaken of Khorne. Far side objective probably going to be taken by Coast as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bob tapping out. The healing, or the value, is even, which is bad because Coast has a lot of passive healing in this game with all their various monsters and spooky creatures of the night. The Halloween special coming in here for Vampire Coast. Zombies doing work, though, with the Mourngul Hunters, and that looks like it's going to be a triple cap. Probably GG for Khorne. I would expect to tap out here soon in the next 15 seconds. Oh, dude, the prophecy, I'm telling you, we still got it. But yeah, it was a really fun match. Cool build, too. Really off meta. The tech against Karanak is nice, right? Because if Karanak is in a build and you bring, Noctilus, not that Noctilus can't fight him off, but he's just going to sit next to you and you're not going to be able to cast any spells. But, in this case, if you bring Karanak, there's 2 powerful characters, one of which has a net and anti-large that can kind of push it back. So that's fun. I like that. Depth Guard rule tool, just such a cool unit. And Depth Guard have been making a bit of a comeback. I've been seeing them in a lot of Coast games lately, which is really, really fun. And for Khorne, fairly meta, right? The only thing that wasn't meta is that many warriors. Typically, warriors are more of a support piece. You'll see 1 or 2 of them, and the rest will be marauders. But overall, they did fine. They ended up fighting some hard fights versus Mournguls, which is going to be tough, right? For the rest of the build, Minotaurs. Yeah, Minotaurs of Khorne, not a bad choice. I think, yeah, the Max Marauder Horsemen too. Those things are always good too. So yeah, it just came down to some of the engagements, I suppose. Probably going 2 warriors and then using the excess money to get way more Marauders to contest the 3 objectives in the beginning is probably stronger. But at the end of the day, who doesn't love Chad Chaos Warriors? They're super cool. All right, folks, that's it for today. You guys take care of yourselves and well played to these 2 mighty champions.